Guys, first of all, I think Ankur sir is here. Are you there, Ankur?
I am very much.
Great. I can't see you. Why is that? Oh.
Is that because I'm one of the
Yeah, I can see you
No?
now.
Okay, got it.
Great. This is actually a big turnout, Ankur. Actually, we have been hosting so many events today. No, not more than 500 people had come here. So yeah, I think our entrepreneurs are turning into superstars. And I was hearing the other day that someone was saying that if our entrepreneurs become superstars, our country is going in the right direction. So yeah, what does that tell you about the India you're catering to?
I know. I love that. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. But thanks so much for having me. And thank you, everyone who's joined in. It's such a pleasure to be amongst all of you.
Yeah, so continuing on that question, so like, what does that tell you about India? Like, our entrepreneurs are becoming superstars. With you, first of all, coming into the content creation, and a lot of other people who are getting so famous. I saw that other day there were a lot of people that were outside in Bangalore, outside Cred's office because they wanted to have a glimpse of Kunal Shah. So yeah, what does that tell you about India?
Yeah,
Where are we moving forward? Yeah.
I think this is a very positive trend, and it's not because I'm an entrepreneur and I love the attention, but I think if you admire someone who really does something meaningful, which is pick up a problem, solve the problem, create wealth not just for themselves but for their investors, for their employees, and does it in a manner which is quite intense, quite hardcore, that to me is a great idol. And with all due respect to all the others that the country has always admired, which has been movie stars and sports people and so on, all of them have done commendable work in their own right. But I think this is a natural evolution in just a country's development. Like I know for a fact in the US, for example, if you were to see one of the movie stars on the road or in the metro or just anywhere, you'll be like, hey,
Yeah,
hi,
it's
big
okay.
fan, love you, continue doing the old work. It will not be like, oh my God, Shah Rukh Khan, Shah Rukh Khan, Shah Rukh Khan. So there is this, there is this.
But would it be the same for Elon Musk today? I doubt about that.
No, I really feel so, yeah. I've had the opportunity to work with some really famous entrepreneurs, and I've always asked them question because the celebrity chase in the country is pretty significant in ours. And I was like, hey, how is it, yeah, being like this cool entrepreneur who's running multi-billion-dollar startups, and it's like very normal. We just walk on the street, people say hi, you hi back. People smile at you, you smile back.
So who's the most charismatic character you met in your time? Like one person you really wanted to meet and you were like, okay, this is someone I really want to become, someone you idolized after meeting him, for example, maybe him or her actually.
That's a good question, man. I'll have to think. I genuinely believe, and this is notwithstanding his acting abilities, but I feel that Shah Rukh Khan is extremely charismatic. Like he has this vibe and this aura around him. And at Nearby, we worked with him, and I don't know why I was so stupid, but I didn't go for that shoot. और मुझे ये याद नहीं है कि इतना क्या जरूरी था मेरी जिंदगी की मैंने वो शूट छोड़ के अपने काम की तरफ ध्यान दिया. But I know I saw clippings when that team had gone, and I of course interacted with his team and himself and so on. I just found him to be very very funny, very witty, very cocky in his own way, but charisma for sure. Yeah, there is a lot.
Great. So it's actually, I was expecting an entrepreneur to talk about an entrepreneur that, yeah, maybe Bill Gates or Steve Jobs, but yeah, I was wrong. So yeah, we can get we get inspiration from the most
exactly
bizarre places.
Exactly.
Right? So Ankur, you were a young man. You still are, although I'm not. I wouldn't make the mistake of calling you old. But a lot of us over here dream, and we all dream of becoming entrepreneurs, of coders, tech stars, whatnot. And I wanted to know, what did Ankur Warikoo, the child, when he was in school or when he was just about to go into college, what was his dreams? What did he wanted to do?
Yeah, मेरी जिंदगी बड़ी interesting है because I had one dream which I worked towards intensely, and I was convinced in my life that will be the only thing I do. तो मेरा अरमान था space scientist बनना. मुझे जाना था यूएस अपनी पीएचडी के लिए, फिर मुझे ज्वाइन करना था नासा एज अ स्पेस साइंटिस्ट। एंड अगर मैंने फाइट मार के अच्छे से काम किया होता, देन मेरा अरमान ये था कि मैं मार्स पे जाके कुछ उखाड़ूंगा। एंड दैट वाज जेन्युइनली द मोटिव
So
टुवर्ड्स
Elon
व्हाट आई
Musk
वाज
से पहले Ankur Warikoo
डूइंग।
had that dream.
This is before Elon Musk
Yes.
discussed Mars and make it pop
So
culture.
so
This
do
is
you
before,
think
by the
it's a
way.
missed opportunity?
No, I feel I genuinely believe, and this is something that I don't say as often, but मुझे ऐसा यकीन है कि मैं एक दिन मार्स पक्का जाऊंगा.
Yes.
And it's quite possible that I'll settle there, but at least not as a scientist. So that is the only thing that has not been done. But I wanted to
Jeff
become a space
Bezos
scientist.
went yeah, to space, I guess. Very yeah. So it's a near possibility.
It is. I think we're looking at that now.
Yeah. So yeah, what was your dream?
Yeah,
To
space
become
scientist.
to become a space scientist.
I wanted to become a space scientist. That was all that I was dreaming for. तो 11th and 12th में science ली, physics मुझे बहुत अच्छी लगती थी. I was good
Yeah,
at it.
like a lot of us.
I know. by choice or by pressure. And then I joined Delhi University for its Bachelor's of Physics program. मैंने IIT के लिए फाइट मारी, 2 साल नहीं हुआ.
Again, like a lot of us.
मैंने और I never wanted to become an engineer, but I don't know. It is just like वो एक जन्मसिद्ध अधिकार होता है हर साइंस स्टूडेंट का कि
Again, like a lot of us.
Exactly, right? तो बस यही चलता रहा फिर. And उस समय पे there was this the FitG and the brilliant tutorials and Vidya Mandirs and so on. अब तो बहुत सारी चीजें आ गई हैं. But didn't make it. So Delhi University Bachelor's of Physics program. And then जब वो खत्म हुआ, फिर मैंने US universities में apply शुरू करना किया. And I actually went for my PhD program to Michigan State University. And I was there for 2 years, and then I came back.
So yeah, I was doing some research, and incidentally, you were 24 when you came back. That was 2004, and 2004 was the time when this movie of Shah Rukh Khan came, Swades. So was there sort of an intersection over there that you came back because of watching that movie, or there was some other reason altogether?
No, I did watch that movie for a really long time, but a lot of people are like, "ये तो Mars का हम एलॉन मस्क से देख चुके हैं, या वो स्वदेश में भी देख चुके हैं, ये तो ढोंगी है." But I frankly lay claim that this happened all before my knowledge of it. I came back because this was true blue, organic, first principles thinking from my side that I wanted to drop out.
Still, I think you would have learned a lot from your stay over there. So, and you've come back, and I'm sure even after coming back to India, you've been connected to the Valley in some way, or to a lot of entrepreneurs who have gone outside. What is something that we can learn from there? Because the trend of startup started a long time ago over there, and only now we can see that last year with so many unicorns. Like, what is something that we can learn from them today?
Yeah, you're right, Kartik, that the 2 years I spent in the US were transformational because it was the first time I had experienced a completely different culture. So India back then, still today, was a land of scarcity. क्योंकि 125 करोड़ लोग हैं, opportunities limited हैं, चाहे जितनी भी तेजी से बढ़ रही हैं, लेकिन हर एक इंसान के लिए नहीं है. And that meant लाइन में खड़ा होना पड़ेगा, right? जेई की लाइन में खड़ा होना पड़ेगा, तुम्हें इस टॉप IIMs में खड़ा होना पड़ेगा, तुम्हें किसी UPSC में खड़ा होना पड़ेगा. It is basically not necessarily an equal opportunity platform as yet.
Yeah.
But when I went to the US, it was my first time to see that everything was in abundance. Anything that you wanted, whether it was food, whether it was entertainment, whether it was sports, whether it was hobbies, whether it was facilities, it was opportunities, it was infrastructure, everything was laid out. And that meant that the only way you succeed in that country is if you work intensely hard and you are insanely smart. And that was fascinating because in India, you could succeed if your parents knew somebody, or if you were just born with shitloads of money, or if you went to a certain school, or if you looked a certain way or spoke a certain way. And वहाँ वो सारा barrier at least fundamentally मुझे नहीं दिखा. And this taught me a lot because, as I said, it was my first experience of looking at something which was equal opportunity, which did not differentiate between me as an Indian student from Delhi, Lajpat Nagar, all the way to Michigan, figuring out what it is. I was an equal. I was equal with my American counterparts, with my Chinese counterparts, with my Korean counterparts, and that just blew me away, man. It just blew me away. So when I came back, I realized कि ये एक life lesson तो जिंदगी में नहीं भूलना है कि intense work and smartness, not inborn smartness, IQ नहीं, smartness that is acquired, smartness that is grown over life. ये अगर दो चीजें आपने हासिल कर ली तो आप दुनिया की किसी भी जंग को जीत सकते हैं.
Yeah, an interesting thing that I pointed out, that you said that there were two things. One is about working hard and one is about smartness. And in India, especially because I've also been brought up in a middle class family, it was more about तुम ज़्यादा काम करोगे, तुम ज़्यादा मेहनत करोगे, तुम ज़्यादा achieve करोगे, rather than maybe towards smartness. So like, what is your viewpoint about that? Like, is that a difference between the culture over there or here? Because यहाँ पे एक है कि ज़्यादा काम करोगे तो ही तुम successful बनोगे, where I think there it is more about time and how you invest your time and things like that. So what is your viewpoint upon that?
It is, yeah. This is, we still have a education system that thrives on memorizing, that thrives on writing pages and pages in paper, like ma'am extra sheet, ma'am extra sheet, ma'am extra sheet. नहीं तो वो लगा रहता है. And there is almost like this competition of sorts of who is filling in more sheets, who is doing more homework.
That was always a pressure. मैंने जबरदस्ती की शीटें ली है.
I know, exactly. ये ऐसा क्या जानते हैं, ऐसा क्या लिख रहे हैं जो हमें नहीं पता है. सेम क्वेश्चन पेपर दोनों को मिला है, ये इतना कैसे लिख रहे हैं. But that was just it. And you go there and it is all about understanding, it's all about reasoning, it's all about not memorizing कि 2 + 2 = 4. वहां हर एक स्टूडेंट के पास बचपन से कैलकुलेटर होता है, क्योंकि उन्हें ये पता है कि सिर्फ टेबल्स याद करना और लाइक I'm sure you guys also felt it, but हमारे टाइम पे हमें log tables याद करने पड़ते थे यार.
Yes.
Like who the hell remembers log tables? Like why should I remember log 3 क्या होता है और log 5 क्या होता है? How is it possible? Because सब कुछ available है. So having a calculator is such a smart way of making you realize how do you go about solving the problem as against what the right answer of the problem is.
I think one generational change that happened was that हमारे में log table की एक book मिलती थी, वो पूरी की पूरी रूम में सर्कुलेट होती थी. But the fun part about that was that जब वो एक बार वो log book खुलती थी, क्योंकि आंसर सबका एक ही log ढूंढ रहे होते थे सारे के सारे, तो एक तरीके से चुपके से मार्क हो जाता था. तो सारे के सारे लोग उसी उसको देख के यही log लेना, यही आंसर है कहीं ना कहीं से. तो अगर ये नहीं आ रहा तो मतलब you're going in the wrong direction.
Wrong direction. Oh, ये log 28 हो रहा है और मेरा तो log 13 निकला हुआ है अभी तक, तो बस हाँ, then you know.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about how ISB changed your life and what was the role of ISB, because I think that time it was not as established a college. Right now it is a dream college for a lot of people. So I wanted to know how that phase and what ISB did to your life.
Yeah, so ISB served a very different but also a very important phase in my life. So the US gave me this realization कि मेहनत and acquired smartness, these are the ways to go. But frankly, मेरी जिंदगी में मेरे पास कोई perspective नहीं था. I was a physics student, I was a geek, I still am to a great extent. So I just immersed myself into sciences and I had zero perspective about the real world. Finance क्या होता है, marketing क्या होती है, IT क्या होता है, strategy क्या होता है, HR क्या होता है, nothing whatsoever. And that is why when I thought of going for an MBA program, my choice was to go to ISB. While it was an insanely expensive program, and I had cracked other colleges also, which were equally good, if not better, I was like, I want to be around people who have done real shit in life. Because I don't know anything. I really do not know anything. And I don't want to make classroom my only way of learning. I would love to sit with an army major and learn or hear about leadership stories. I would love to sit with a finance major and read about or know about how what we're learning in class applies to some extent, but the actual learning is outside, which applies in real world. And that happened at ISBR. It was fascinating because I was surrounded by such smart people. I was the dumbest person in the batch, and that meant all I was doing was just absorbing, and that made me richer in not just what I could be doing in life, but also my own understanding of who I was.
So I believe that those were the building days of Ankur Warikoo, the entrepreneur, I would say. With how you moved on to Groupon and then finally Nearby. So how did the whole Groupon story actually unfold? How did you get in touch with the people who were doing it in the US? And why did you feel that Groupon was something that could work in India? Because India is a totally different market. Unka offers and uske upar there is a different view. So why did you think it had some scope in India? And maybe if you could share an anecdote or two of how all of that unfolded in our country.
Totally, yeah. I had, so most things in my life, Kartik, have happened because of luck. I'm not the smartest person I know. I'm not the most hardworking person I know. So I am just a factor of luck. And अगर किसी को भी जिंदगी में luck पे कोई भी question mark होगा, तो मेरी जिंदगी will convince them there is something called that. So as luck would have it, I'd started the startup journey in 2009, and that was with a friend of mine from ISB. The first website that I was part of was called secondshadi.com. It was India's first matrimonial website for remarriages. So जिन लोगों को अपनी दूसरी या तीसरी या चौथी शादी करनी थी, that was a platform for them to find a mate for them. And that did really well. And then that followed it up with another website called Gadi.com, which still continues to run and did fairly well in the car segment. So we did that for about a year and a half. And then there were three of us. We went our ways. We were like, ठीक है, अच्छा हो गया, लेकिन कुछ friction है, and we appreciate that we are adults, so let's go our ways. And I was looking for what next to do. तो एक दिन ISB की alumni email base पे एक email आती है, German company looking for Indian founders. I read about the email. I like, interesting लग रहा है, and let's apply. I didn't do any research, zero research, huh? Which is, by the way, a bad way of doing anything in life. So एक बार company का नाम भी Google नहीं किया. And this was not because I was desperate or anything. It was just that the email looked very interesting. It was a German company. They had a fashion e-commerce company in Europe, which was very large, and they wanted to replicate that fashion e-commerce company in India. So I applied, and the next thing I know, they called me. We had a good chat. I liked them. They liked me. And they said, sure, why don't you start this business for us? And we started building towards an e-commerce company in fashion for India. This company, by the way, finally became Jabong.com. So I was the original team of Jabong.com, but that's not what's interesting. What's interesting was, because we had done zero research, we figured that this company is not legally allowed in India.
How?
Because there are FDI regulations on multi-brand retail in India. No one can do multi-brand retailing in India if it's an international company, which is why Walmart is not there, which is why any multi-brand retail outlet is not there. You only have Zara or Nike or Adidas, which are single brand outlets. And that same applied to e-commerce as well. So we did our homework for 3 months. We hired a team, we did everything, but we actually could not find a legal way of running the company. So we had to shut down the company. And I shut down a company that I started 3 months back for them. And when that entire shutdown happened, the founder of the German company is, by the way, Rocket Internet, which is a very big company now. And the founder there, Oliver, we used to call him Ollie. He said, hey, what are you doing now? Ab to shutdown ho gaya. Tum to berozgar ho, to kya kar rahe ho? I was like, nothing. I'm just looking for what I could do. He's like, yeah, there is this very interesting company called Groupon, and we are responsible for its international expansion. And we want to start the India business. Do you want to have a look at it? I was like, okay, देखते हैं क्या. Then I Googled Groupon, क्योंकि अब मैं थोड़ा जख्मी हो चुका था, तो I like Google करना जरूरी है. So I Googled Groupon, and I was fascinated because it was discounts and deals, which is a pretty big thing in India.
Yeah.
It was local commerce. So it was restaurants, spa, salons. And I'm a very, very local retail guy. Like as much as I'm a tech entrepreneur, I love going to malls. I love going to movie halls. I love going out. I
More
don't
about the
like
experience.
ordering.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? हमारे घर पे ऑर्डर इन नहीं होता है, अगर होता भी है तो सिर्फ डोमिनोज पिज्जा ही होता है और कुछ और हम ऑर्डर नहीं करते हैं. हम हमेशा मूवी भी बाहर देखते हैं, एटलीस्ट कोविड से पहले, so on and so forth. So this felt like something I would enjoy.
Yeah.
And imagine getting deals and discounts from your best places to the Indian consumer on an online manner. So it was the best combination of what I love, technology as well as local retail.
Experience. Yeah.
So that's why I signed up. And the next thing you know, Groupon India started in India.
Great. On a side note, I was actually thinking how when I became a fan of Ankur Warikoo. So this is a fun anecdote actually. So I had a small entrepreneurship stint in college. So I'm not flexing, but yeah. Anyway, so after that I started getting a lot of ads about your entrepreneurship course. I actually wanted to have a look, so I went to the website and I had a look at the course structure. I was like, yeah, this is fair enough. I could give it a thought, but at that point of time, I didn't want to spend 1,500 rupees as a college student. So that's true. So but what happened after that was bizarre. For the next 1 year, Ankur, any ad any video I would watch on YouTube, and it was just you. It was for 1 year that it was like Ankur Warikoo himself is chasing me that please buy this course, and I gave in. I think that was one of the most bizarre ways I ended up buying something. So what is the digital marketing strategy that you are using for your courses? I need to know this.
And you are not the only person, Kartik, who's given me this feedback. So there are two parts to it. Number one, by design. Number two, outside of our control. Yeah. Here is what is by design. I create a lot of content across social media, and all of that content is free, and it will always be free. I will never charge anybody for watching my YouTube ad or having a podcast or newsletter or anything like that. The only thing that I charge for are my courses. Yeah. And my courses are then run through a digital marketing engine.
And your book that we will be talking about in the end.
And the book, because book free में नहीं दे सकते तो इसलिए
no.
But आ चुका है PDF Telegram पे बहुत घूम रहा है. So the idea is I will, through my ads, reach out to millions of people, and at some point of time they'll be like, यार ये कौन है, क्यों हमारे पीछे पड़ गया, like जो तुम्हारा भी था, like ये कौन. And then I'm hoping that at some point of time they will Google me up, because सारे लोग मेरे जैसी गलती तो नहीं करते हैं, लोग Google करते हैं actually चीजें. So they will Google me up, and when they Google, they will see years and years of content across platforms, absolutely free. So they will know that I am not a fly-by-night operator who has zero value to bring to somebody. And hopefully that will get them to trust me and then convert. Should they not want to, they will continue to get my free content forever. But should they want to, they will get value in the course that runs.
And one of the most interesting things, sorry to interrupt.
No, go on.
One of the most interesting things about the course was that there was a clause, and I loved this clause. I think I haven't seen it at a lot of places. If you do not like the course, you can get the 1,500 rupees back. And I was like,
exactly.
I'm safe. If agar meko अच्छा भी लगा, so I can just give it back.
Exactly.
And as a customer, you do not do that. So it's like I've seen a lot of videos where you talk about the trust. How even at nearby Groupon, you had that trust that, okay, I'm giving out laptops even when you're getting the offer letter, even before you get the offer letter, and you're getting the salary the starting of the month. So it had a lot to do about trust, and I really admire that about you, about wherever you work with nearby Groupon or
No, that is thank you for mentioning that, because that is just so true. And it happens like I get a lot of emails every day, which is like, Ankur, loved the course, but गरीब हूँ, पैसे चाहिए, I need a refund. I'm like, भाई ले कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. इतने पैसों से ना मैं अमीर बनूंगा, ना मेरी आत्मा को कोई सुकून मिलेगा, knowing that you needed that money. Please take it. I just want to add value. And if anybody feels that it's not adding value, you get no questions asked refund anytime. And I don't know of any other course that does that, at least in India. While internationally, there are a lot of these platforms. So that is how I think of my content as a trust engine and not a sales engine. You will never find me selling anything through my content. You will only see me selling through my ads. And the ads don't run on my channels. Like the YouTube ad runs on a completely different channel. My Instagram ads run from my wife's channel. So all of that has nothing to do with my content. मेरा content मेरे ads की वजह से नहीं spread होता है. It just genuinely goes out because thankfully people find value. But the ads are the way of reaching out to a far bigger set.
I'll try to come a bit back again. So, like, you went on to start Nearby, which was bought by Groupon India, which is as you say, it was a bizarre move, but yeah, it worked, and I think that it was a very passionate move, and once it became all yours, I'm sure that the passion would have multiplied 2 or 3 times, but. After 3-4 years down the line of successfully running it, you wanted to, you stepped down and you hanged up your boots with Nearby. I wanted to talk about dispassion. We talk about for everything, and every influencer, every person talks about passion. You need to make your goals and pursue it passionately, but no one really talks about dispassion. And a lot of people face that problem because even if I'm starting a job, if I've started a new startup, I do not know what is the right time to hang my boots. We don't know when to leave our job. What is the time that we feel that the time that we're putting in is not giving us that much worth? So how to identify that point, and how difficult is it to start with that process of dispassion, and how to go forward with it?
That's a good question. Yeah, a very thoughtful question. So the question that I often ask Kartik is, how is the outcome going to change if I continue to stay here? And how is it going to be different if I don't stay here?
Okay.
And I asked that question for Nearby. And the answer to me was very obvious, that my staying at Nearby is not going to materially alter the outcome of Nearby. And this was because of 3 reasons. One, I'd built a kick-ass team. So my ability or even my need to be there was much lesser. Number 2, it was a market that was growing at its own pace. So we couldn't do anything to grow the market faster. हम restaurants तो नहीं खड़े कर सकते, हम spa salon तो नहीं खड़े कर सकते, हम कुछ ऐसा नहीं बेच रहे हैं जो हम खुद बना रहे हैं. We're only marketing the services of others. And that's why we will be at the women fancy of how the market grows. So if COVID happens, the market collapses. If COVID doesn't happen, the market continues to grow, but everything there is then a function of an externality and not an interior thing that you can drive. And then number 3 is, if the business does not get impacted by you staying there, if the market is driven by an external force and not internal, what is it that you could do outside of this that you would want to do, or that has a far higher opportunity gain for you than the opportunity cost you're giving? And when I answer this question, and it doesn't have to be for a founder, it could be for anything, it could be for a job. Is my sticking in this job going to materially change the outcome of this company? And more often than not, the answer is no, unless you're very senior. Is this role and my growth in this role driven by how good I am, or is it driven by an externality that I can't control?
Especially for MNCs. For MNCs, would you ever feel that you are that important to the company?
And it frankly depends, Kartik, on what kind of role are you playing in that MNC. Because there are a lot of roles that people do play where you're not working necessarily for the India unit, or even if you're working in the India unit is meaningful in the entire piece. For example, if there's anyone who's working at Google India right now, that's a great role to be in, because Google knows for a fact that India is one of its key markets for the next 20 years, if not more. And so every eye and ear and strength of Google globally is, India may not be big right now, but in the next 20 years, this is going to be the country which will make us continue to remain big. And that's why it's a great spot to be in. But if you are, I don't know, some random Warikoo company working in some random function, इट्स क्वाइट पॉसिबल कि आपके रहने से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. आपका पूरा ग्रोथ जो है वो आपके मैनेजर पे डिपेंडेंट है, या उसके बॉस पे डिपेंडेंट है, या एक मार्केट पे डिपेंडेंट है जिसको आप कोई कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते. एंड यू नो दैट इफ यू वुड स्टेप आउट, यू कैन एक्चुअली गेट समथिंग just as meaningful, if not more, than what you have.
Great. I think it's getting a bit serious. I do have a lot of more serious questions, but to sort of break the flow, I think let's have a round of rapid fire. So I'd prepared
Let's do
something,
that.
and although this is not coffee with Karan, and you're not getting any gift hamper, but yeah, this is Red Bull with Kartik, and this is our sponsors. So yeah, I'll have to do that as well. Any screenshots? Great. Okay, yeah. I hope you have Red Bull in that. Okay, so I'm going to put out a few. It's going to be like I'll give you two things, and you need to choose which one you would prefer. Okay, so Elon Musk or Steve Jobs?
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs or Bill Gates?
Steve Jobs.
Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli?
Sachin.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Zomato or Swiggy?
Zomato.
Pani Puri or Vada Pav?
Pani Puri.
Okay, this was the trial round. Now we'll start with the real ground. Okay. 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 So the more challenging situation you faced, starting nearby or starting your YouTube channel?
Oh, starting nearby, 100%.
If you had one superpower, it would be
to fly.
Why so?
I don't know. Like, I live on the 13th floor, so I just imagine underbread lena hoga, jao, lao, wapas aa jao. It's so cool.
Great. I think more related to your thing with astrophysics, and you wanted to go to Mars. So I think it's an extension of that. Crypto versus stocks. Stocks. Okay. 1 lakh of ESOPs versus 20 lakhs of cash. And let's consider this to be a well-moving startup. Yeah, it's a good startup.
मैं यही सवाल पूछने वाला था.
like Zomato maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a 20x. I'd say 20 lakhs of stocks. 20 lakhs of cash.
Okay, cash is king. I think in the last video you or maybe a LinkedIn post you said that if your company is just giving you cash, then it's of no worth.
It's like no. So what I meant was there are some startups that are so poor that they only give their employees money.
Yeah, cash, money.
Which is like, there is a startup should ideally give so much more. Like growth हो सकता है, learning हो सकती है, mentoring हो सकती है, opportunities हो सकती है. लेकिन तुम सिर्फ पैसे पे रुक जाओगे, then फिर तुम like कहाँ के startup हो? तो कहीं और भी इतनी सारी कंपनी.
Being the Sindhi I am, I just had in money के जगह होगा ESOPs. इससे ज़्यादा तो दिमाग में नहीं है.
नहीं.
Right. If you had to put all your savings in a startup, what industry is it most likely to be in? Today?
Fintech.
Work from home or work from office?
Yeah, 2 days work from office.
You have to choose one.
Work from office.
I got it. Yeah. It should be an amalgamation, I think, moving forward, right?
But work from office. If office is fun, and office generally for me is fun, and I like building offices which are very fun. Like nearby ke sare offices, we had 2 offices in 4 years. They were just great places to be, like infrastructure wise, camaraderie wise. Ek bus tha, ek vibe, ek energy thi, which was.
And how could you leave that baby of yours? I'm still clueless about that fact.
No, when you turn 39,
I'll be moved. Like when I was researching about all of this, मेरे दिमाग में एक बहुत naive सवाल I would say, but it was that okay, if this is not interesting enough, why not use the same brand to do something else or enter some other industry? Because I'm sure you would be making revenue and you would be in a good stage. So you could have maybe, you would correct me because I am wrong, but yeah, you could have maybe moved to some other space. Like you're interested in fintech, why not shape it towards the fintech side? So I really wanted to know that.
So there, and I have a philosophy which, by the way, is just mine, and I don't necessarily think everyone should adhere to it. I don't like the concept of pivoting to just survive. What I mean by that is, If nearby is whatever it is, or for that matter, any other startup is what it is, but for some reason it's not working out, when you pivot to a completely different thing, essentially what you're doing is you're just focused on survival. You're not focused on the problem anymore. And I love to fall in the problem. I love to fall in love with the problem. So I'm like, यार ये problem ना meaningful है. तो या तो मैं इस problem को chase करना बंद कर दूं, या मैं इस problem पे लगा रहा हूं. लेकिन मैं एक दूसरी problem नहीं उठा सकता हूं just because I need a problem to solve in life. If I have to, then I'll start all over again with that. And this, I think, comes from the fact that I find it very easy to let go of things. मेरे लिए कोई emotional attachment नहीं है चीजों के साथ. Like रिश्ते are the only things that I would be emotionally attached to. But for me, running a company at some point of time is solving a problem. And I am a insane worker when it comes to solving a problem. But if the problem is not getting solved, I wouldn't move to some other problem using the same vehicle. I'll be like, no, we'll start the problem all over again.
Okay, talking about problems, one of your recent videos that I think you posted last week was about the tough time you had when you had left nearby. And I think, is it fair to call it one of the lowest point in your career?
It wasn't the lowest point, but
Okay.
it was, it was tough. It was just tough. I wouldn't call it low. Like I wasn't low. I wasn't like, oh, zindagi barbaad ho gayi, but it was tough.
Yeah, so like how did you overcome that point? Because that is the point when I also felt, okay, Ankur Warikoo is human. After that video, I realized, okay, Ankur Warikoo is human. He also has faced problems, although you say you have had a very up and down life. But yeah, that is truly when I felt, okay, this was a low point. And maybe talk more about that, because as students we also face आईआईटी नहीं हुआ, पहले साइंस नहीं मिल रही है, फिर आईआईटी नहीं हुआ. So at every point we feel, okay, this is rock bottom. And how do you come over at that? This sort of philosophical question, but really wanted your point of view on that.
Yeah, I just have one point of view on that, Kartik, which has really helped me in life, and that is कि ना हम जिंदगी में भूखे नंगे नहीं मरेंगे. We're already above survival. We are not fighting for survival. Like this group which is watching this conversation on a nice phone or their nice laptop or iPad with an internet connection, warm and cozy in their bed or wherever they are sitting, this group is not fighting for survival. It's fighting for social validation. It is fighting to come across as successful in the eyes of others. And I frankly don't care about that. मुझे घंटा फर्क पड़ता है कि लोग मेरे बारे में क्या सोचते हैं, because I know myself really well. I know myself really. I am my best friend. I can talk to myself whatever I want to. I know my deepest fears. I know my deepest secrets. I know my strengths. I can lift myself up whenever I want to. Like I am my best friend ever. And that just means कि किसी भी point पे आप अगर मर नहीं रहे हैं या आपकी फैमिली आपसे छीनी नहीं जा रही, you can always bounce back, my friend. There is nothing that you can't do in life. Nothing at all. And all of these steps now, IIT and this job and this Gadi and this Bangla, this Shan and Shaukat, all of this are just means. At the end of it, why do we want to go to a certain institution? Because we think that it guarantees success. But what is success for us? Is it money? Is it satisfaction? Is it contentment? Is it happiness? Is it peace? And we rarely ask that question. तो हम भाई चल जाते हैं हुर गधे के जैसे खींचने लगते हैं अपनी गाड़ी, लेकिन कोई आइडिया नहीं है जाना कहाँ. तो कोई और हमारे पीछे चाबुक मार मार के हमें चला रहा है. वो माँ बाप हो सकते हैं, समाज हो सकता है, लोगों का डर हो सकता है, whatever the case may be. And we are never free. We think we are because we seem to be ahead of the cart, but there's someone on the cart who is whipping us and making it happen. Long story short, I don't care about what the world thinks of me. And I have this absolute irrational belief in myself that I'm not going to die of hunger or poverty. With these two things combined, there is no low point in life. It is just a point to move on from. And yeah, it happens.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, because even my father really says this, that So my grandfather's generation, what they worked for was survival. They lived
Exactly.
hand to mouth. What
Exactly.
their aspiration was that, okay, I want that my children have 2 meals a day. What my dad's generation wanted was maybe a car or a house, somewhat of those luxuries. And what our generation wants is something more than that. It's, as you said, validation, social
Yeah.
validation, and job satisfaction, things like that. So yeah, fair point. And continuing to this point as well. So when you started your content journey, and I think the main target group that you had in mind was people in their 20s.
Yeah.
And again, I will not make the mistake of calling you old, but you trying to pivot to that at the age of 40, how difficult was it to empathize with people like us, empathizing with the problems that we face? And, even I'm sure the things that you learned about investing when you were 20 is quite different from what we are. We are born in the age of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So, and you were
Yeah.
born in the time of Tata, Reliance, and
I know,
IT stocks.
exactly.
So how difficult
Exactly.
was it to empathize with us?
Yeah, it wasn't, because for the last 10 years, I had built teams which were pretty much the same age segment. And because I had hired them, I had worked closely with them, there was a certain sense of understanding. Of course, it becomes harder and harder. And that is why I spend a lot of time interacting with young folks and trying to understand what is it that they're going through. I also make myself immensely accessible. So I get a lot of emails on a daily basis. I get a lot of DMs. I try and read all of them. I read all my emails. और उससे पता चल जाता है कि
I
इस
had mailed you
generation
my
में.
startup pitch. I did not yet get a reply, but okay,
So
yeah.
I read all my emails. I don't reply to all my emails. And I if you send it to me again, I can tell you what will be the feedback of why I didn't reply.
I'll do that today.
But it was fun, yeah, because I realized that आप लोगों की generation जो है ना, it's a very very unique generation, because for the first time in world history, everything is democratized and accessible to everybody who has a device and the internet connection. And you all have grown up on that. Like हमारी generation में we have moved from no internet to internet. तो हमने एक दुनिया देखी है जहां हमें 2 दिन पहले कोऑर्डिनेट करना पड़ता था कि हम प्रिया में ना 4 बजे मिलेंगे और मैं मैकडॉनल्ड्स के सामने खड़ा होऊंगा और मैंने लाल शर्ट पहनी होगी, because that's the only way that you can. But today, it's like, no, location भेज दो. So it's a very very different generation, but that also poses a problem because you guys are living in an era of maximum abundance that this world has ever seen. हर कुछ जो तुम्हें चाहिए वो available है. No, you need a book, click. You need movies, click. You need food, click. You need a cab, click. You need love, swipe right. तो जो कुछ भी चाहिए available at the speed of thought. And that makes it not easy but hard, because we didn't have that. Like हमारे लिए क्या था? 11th 12th में इंजीनियरिंग करनी है, या तो सीए बनना है, या लॉयर बनना है, या डॉक्टर बनना है, वो खत्म दुनिया. But today, like, I can become a YouTuber, I can become a fashion designer, I can become an archaeologist, I can become, a scientist, I can of course do all of these things, but engineering, maybe I can do chemical, but I can also do biomedical, and I can also do something else that didn't even exist. And you're spoiled for choices, and that makes it really really hard. So I felt that this would be something that I would enjoy, because I could understand the generation, speak a language that hopefully they relate to, and yeah, that's why I
You've done
started creating
brilliantly.
content.
I'm sure you've done brilliantly. The numbers speak for themselves. So, although I would really want some questions from the crowd, till then, I would really want to talk about the book, and I think that's the main thing. Do epic shit, and I feel that every book is like a startup, or like any company. Book is written to solve a problem. At least a non-fiction book, I would say, is to solve a problem. What is the problem that you saw that you wanted to write this book, and when did this eureka moment really happen? That okay, now I need to write. I need to start writing about it. So yeah, something about that.
So the purpose of the book, and I love the question, by the way, the purpose of the book is singular, Kartik. It is to get people started on the habit of reading. So the book is actually not meant for people who read books. It's meant for people who rarely read books or have never read a book. because it is written in a manner that it does not create pressure on you. It does not have a start, it does not have a finish. You can literally open up on any page and you can start the book from there. It's very, very light. It's a big font. It doesn't leave you with confusion, but it leaves you with a lot of thoughts and a lot of questions. And it is a combination of my life experiences, my failures, and everything, which makes it also relatable, because I want people to know कि अगर आपको ये इंसान 40 साल की उम्र में सक्सेसफुल लगता है, तो आपको ये जानना जरूरी है कि इस इंसान ने भी बहुत 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 सारी गलतियां करी हैं. And if you are also going through the same mistakes or the same failures, then it should give you hope कि अगर ये गधा कुछ कर सकता है, तो मैं तो बहुत स्मार्ट हूँ इससे, तो मैं तो कर ही लूंगा.
Great. I think we'll have the link of the Amazon of Amazon the book in the comment section and on the YouTube channel as well. I have bought my copy. It is taking some time, but yeah, I'm really dying to read it. And I actually I saw a lot of people talk about this about the readability, and I remember my younger brother. He's never read a book. He bought 7 Harry Potter books and he finished it in like 7 days. And after that, it's been like 3 years after that, and he's still not read another book. So I think there are some books that have that sort of readability that people can just connect to it very easily, even people who have not read. So I'm sure that is the problem that you're solving, one, and obviously a lot about your life lessons. So I also believe that to do epic shit has to happen to you. And is Ankur Warikoo also human? Did shit happen with him? And what is it that happened because of which he wrote the book?
Yeah, a lot of things, and there is an entire section devoted to success and failure, where I speak about the mistakes I made in my 20s, mistakes I made in my 30s, mistakes I made with money, my own failure resume. So when I turned 40, I wrote a failure resume, which is like a resume is usually things जो आपने करी हैं, you've done so well.
और जो नहीं करी शायद.
Exactly, but no one has a failure resume, and I made one. It's like ये है वो सारी चीजें जहाँ मैं fail हुआ, and those things have shaped me up. Like the book is actually not dedicated to anybody, whether my family or any mentor or guru of mine. The book is dedicated to my failures. And that is what the dedication in the book also says.
Great. I think, guys, please start putting out your questions. I would want to take questions from you now. And I'll just start with I'll just shoot my last question. So, Ankur, you've had a great journey with ups and downs and with a lot of successes and failures. Where do you see yourselves in 5 years?
This is one of my favorite questions to
ask or to answer.
To only answer. I do not like asking this question, but I'll tell you why. Because my answer to this question is I do not know where I will be 5 years from now, and I'm totally okay with that. And that takes a lot of time to get to. But once you get there, you realize you're truly, truly free.
I can see why I was not selected for some companies, because this is not the answer that I gave. I gave some very vague answers. I think I need to learn from this one. So yeah, shoot down your questions, guys. I cannot see a lot of questions, but I'm sure you do have a lot of questions. Okay, there's someone.
Oh, wow.
You are my idol, sir. I admire you. Want to be time ninja? Is that what it is? Yeah. I think if you can write down your questions, or if you will raise your hand. I think okay. Okay, I am getting a lot of questions now. Great.
Yeah, now it's.
Okay, can you see them as well? Yeah, I think you can. So there is.
Yeah, I can.
Shark Tank favorite judge. Yeah, what is your viewpoint on Shark Tank? I would want to know from you as well.
Yeah, not a big fan, but not because of what most people are saying, बहुत dramatized है और ये सब वगैरह. I'm not a big fan because it over-indexes on funding for a startup as success. And frankly, that is not. Like, as someone who has raised a lot of money, I can tell you with conviction कि funding से एक startup की किसी भी बुनियाद को कुछ नहीं होता है except that you just get a fake sense of confidence. So it is something that is not appropriate for the
Yeah,
user.
even the way like 50% equity pay, that was the time when I lost it. Like no, knowing a little bit about startups, I know that is not the right way to be because I feel that the founder loses the sense of ownership once you give 50% or those kind of numbers on equity. How do I convert an idea into a product and know that the idea is worth working on? I think the first episode of the course is something that will answer that well. So I will market that for you. But yeah,
Exactly.
if you could answer that question in a line or two.
Yeah, the best way to test the idea is to actually launch the product without launching the business.
Yes,
And as Kartik mentioned, there is a way that I described, which is a 14-day test that I've personally conducted on so many ideas that you can as well. But there is a short video on YouTube also that you can check for that, so you don't have to buy the course for it.
Okay. Any question that you can see, Ankur, or I'll.
Oh, there are a lot. There are like 354. So, hold on. Okay, let me.
अपनी मुस्कान का राज बताओ सर.
जिंदगी में दुख की कोई वजह ही नहीं है. So, okay, this is a good one. Harsh has this. Is it necessary to go to an MBA school for starting a startup and being an entrepreneur? The answer is no, Harsh. MBA schools are actually the worst place to go to learn about startups, because MBA schools are what? Masters in Business Administration. So they will teach you the fundamentals of business, but वो एक धंधा चलाना नहीं सिखाएंगे, वो आपको administer करना सिखाएंगे, which is very different from starting a business and going in there. Now that doesn't mean that an MBA is not a good place to be, but if you want to start up, don't go for an MBA. But after you've gone to an MBA, you can of course start up, and you will be better off than anybody else who's not gone for an MBA.
If I move forward and I post another counter question on that, like I've gone through your course, and there are a lot of frameworks that you talk about, a lot of ways that you try to structure the process of actually pinning down on your idea and working on your idea. So does that also somehow inhibit us from being free flowing? And because then we're sort of looking for frameworks and structures, like even an MBA, how it does that. It tells you that this is the right way to go. And I really feel that entrepreneurship, there is nothing, anything can go right, anything can go wrong. That's how bizarre it is actually today. So do you think that also inhibits it a little bit?
Yeah, anything that boxes your opinion is of course inhibiting. But I distinguish between boxing your opinion and lending structure to your opinion. The biggest problem that people have is that they don't have structure to their thoughts. तो उनके thoughts ना free flowing होती है. For example, every Friday I send out a newsletter. और आज के newsletter में मैंने discuss किया how do you take decisions in life, or how do you choose between decisions. For example, अगर आपको 2 job offers के बीच में choose करना है, या 2 colleges के बीच में choose करना है, how do you go about doing it? We do it by जज्बात. Like, अरे यार ये भी उसमें अच्छा है, वो अच्छा है, ये ऐसा है, वैसे है. But those are emotions, and emotions are a really, really bad judge of what should be the right thing to do. There is a mechanism that at least I follow in my life where I turn those emotions into numbers. And I say, okay, what is important for me in a college? कि placements कैसी है, brand कैसा है, peer group कैसा है, opportunities कैसी हैं, internships कैसे मिलती हैं, blah, blah, blah. And then I assign weightages to all these things that matter. And to each of the options that I have, I give it a score. When you do that, it's a very simple way for you to translate your emotions into numbers. Now, is that constraining your thought? No. In my opinion, it is structuring your thought, and that is why it's great. So frameworks give me the same purpose.
Well answered. Okay, I think I'll take one last question. I really like this one by Paras Gupta. So at this age, many people want to have a settled life. So are really courageous or adventurous that you do not want a life in which business keeps paying you on a regular basis, that too in loads? I think that's the question. I think it was not really a question. I felt it was a good question.
It was just a statement.
Yeah, it was
Let's just say we agree.
Even I was trying to end it in a way that it was a question, and I realized no, I'm going in the wrong direction. Okay, I'll find another question, or maybe you could. How should college students know what activity to do and what not to do?
नहीं पता चलेगा. That is the best thing. नहीं पता चलेगा. करने से पहले किसी को कभी नहीं पता चल सकता whether it is the right thing for you or not. Because if you ask your seniors, they will give you an answer based on their perspective, right? So Kartik has had his own experience, and if you were to ask him, hey Kartik, should I do this? Should I do that? Kartik will answer the question not for you, but from his perspective, which is nothing wrong with what he does, but that is just the way it works. You have to, as a college student, you have 4 years. That's a really long time. Go out and do everything possible. Like, especially if you are in such a great place, in such a great university, in a place where you are in the capital city, you are working with smart people, you have opportunities, the best companies, the best roles coming to you. Go out and do as many internships as you can, pick up as many online courses as you can, be a part of as many communities and committees as you can, clubs, societies. Genuinely go out and discover yourself. 4 साल के अंदर आपको अपनी कॉलेज डिग्री नहीं लेनी है. 4 साल के अंदर आपको ये जानना है कि आप कौन है. And if you are able to answer that question in 4 years, which by the way is a really long time, and I think you can get to that answer, that's it. Job done. Uske baad, your choice. You are a CS grad, but you never wanted to be that. You will have the answer of what you want to do. You were a mechanical engineer and you wanted to be a software guy. You will have the answer what to do. The answers are all out there. You have to seek them out. And for that, there is no prescription. Don't hear or listen to anybody who says, ye karo, ye mat karo, ye karo, ye mat karo. Because then there is no difference between your parents and them.
Great, really well answered. Okay, so I think it's time to wrap up. I think this is going to be it. Just last one question is that when is the Ankur Warikoo biography movie coming, and who will be the main actor in that movie?
I have no idea, man. I'm not even planning for it, not even thinking about it. And if it happens, it'll be a miracle. And at that point of time, jisko bhi man karega mera role karne ka, कर ले.
एक तो कोई मन होगा कि if Shahrukh Khan or I think Shahrukh is a favorite actor, so that could be an option. Or
no, he's not my favorite actor. I really find him bad. He's a terrific charmer and he's a great entrepreneur. I think a good guy could be Ranbir Kapoor.
Yeah, he has experience of doing a lot of biographies, so I think good choice.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. So I think that is about it. Thanks a lot, Ankur. Thanks a lot for joining us. And I think a lot of the people here are first years who have just joined college and are just finding their way out, trying to figure out what to do. I hope somewhere down the line they do something successful and they tell the world that okay, this is the time when I heard Ankur Warikoo and my life changed. So yeah, I hope you get a lot of mails today about how great this session was. Thanks a lot, Ankur, for joining us. Thanks a lot to everyone who is here, and I think let's hand it over to Ria and Jay for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All the best. Take care. Thanks for having me, and have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Bye bye.